is a traditional form of Japanese poetry. It follows a very specific format and meter. For example, a haiku poem contains 3 lines and 17 syllables. The first line has 5 syllables, the second line 7 syllables, and the third line 5 syllables. The following is perhaps one of the most famous Japanese haikus. Furu ike ya kawazu tobikomu mizu no oto. This haiku by Matsuo Basho is an example which you may be familiar with about a frog jumping into an old pond. There are many different English translations of this haiku. The following is one such example. If we analyze the structure of this translation in comparison to the previous haiku, we will notice that it follows a very similar format. There are 3 lines, and while the first 2 lines of this translation do not have the same number of syllables, they are more similar than other translations to the original Japanese format. In contrast, this second translation of the same poem has many more syllables per line. These examples raise the question, what is the definition of a haiku poem? Through my research, I believe that there may be many aspects which contribute to the definition of a haiku. My research in particular deals with the structural elements in both the English and Japanese languages, which may have an effect on the meter in English and Japanese poetry. The meter in poetry may be influenced by many different elements, some of which may include syllables, moire, and vowel length. For example, Japanese and English languages may have different combinations of such elements. You will also see that there is one particular connection between Japanese and English poetry. To begin with some background on meter, the example which I have provided of the Japanese and English versions of haiku follows a very specific format, the 5-7-5 meter. Iambic pentameter is perhaps a more familiar example of a form of meter. According to Mary Oliver's A Poetry Handbook, iambic pentameter may be defined according to several different aspects. Specifically, this type of meter has 5 stresses per line. Each line in an iambic pentameter poem contains 10 syllables. The first syllable is unstressed, and it is followed by a stressed syllable. This alternation of unstressed and stressed syllables is repeated throughout the line of poetry. Moreover, an unstressed syllable combined with a stressed syllable forms a foot or iamb in iambic pentameter. William Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 is one such poem which uses iambic pentameter. The first line, as you will see in the middle of the slide, is "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" I have reworded the line below on the bottom of the slide, separated by syllable. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? As you can see, every other syllable is highlighted in bold. These are the syllables which bear the stress. This is a very general representation of how iambic pentameter works. When it comes to syllables, through my study of the Japanese language, I have long believed that syllables have many similarities between the English and Japanese language. However, through more recent research, I have come to find that there are actually slight differences in the structure of syllables, which change depending on the English and Japanese language. Here is a more straightforward example of syllables. The English word park is one syllable, whereas the Japanese home is also one syllable. The next element in the structural elements in language is morae. Morae is loosely related to syllables and used in both Old English as well as Japanese. The example you'll see below, the syllable home, is one syllable. However, it is made up of two morae, ko and n. This is specific to the Japanese language. In this particular example, we can see that the two morae are the building blocks for a larger structure of syllables. This is particularly important in Japanese poetry because morae bear the stress and pronunciation, and because of this may change the meter in Japanese poetry translations. The third aspect which I will touch on has to do with vowel length, particularly long vowels. The modern English language uses both the terms long vowels and short vowels, and generally, when we discuss these types of vowels, we are talking about a difference in pronunciation. However, according to Thomas Cable, Old English vowels are described as heavy, and through my studies of Japanese long vowels are defined in the terms of length, how long the speaker pronounces a vowel, or draws out a vowel. Long vowels are present in both Old English poetry, such as Beowulf, as well as in vocabulary in the modern Japanese language. Due to my time and the extent of my research, I do not have specific examples of Old English long vowels. Here are two examples of Japanese long vowels. The Japanese word okasan uses the long vowel a, two a's together, which is spoken for two beats instead of one. Similarly, the syllable ko uses the o as a long vowel. It is counted twice as long as a short o vowel. In conclusion, these are some of the many components which may change not only the structure of English when we analyze the English and Japanese languages, but may also apply to different poetry translations of poems. While my research is not conclusive in showing a direct correlation between translations and a different number of syllables, this is a topic which I am more interested in researching. Finally, the surprising connection between Japanese and English poetry has to do with Old English and its use of morae as well as long vowels in the construction or as a link between modern Japanese and modern English poems.
I got a whole bunch of questions. I loved that you did the comparison to Old English. Was that the door through which you grew interested in this, or because you studied in Japan, or none of the above?
Yes, actually, this is currently a paper I'm working on for Professor Hargis's History and Structure of English class, and we have been discussing Old English earlier on in the semester, and I believe at one point we touched very briefly on long vowels, and this was originally what I was interested in writing about for my research paper. Through my research, I also found out about the term mora or morae and how they are also present in Japanese. And then I thought, oh, that's an interesting connection. I'd really like to tie that into my overall major somehow. And so, as I've been researching, it's been becoming more and more interesting to see certain connections, particularly in poetry.
So is there a body of research, of literature out there dealing with this particular topic, or are you filling the gap yourself?
Some of this is filled in, for example, with Japanese long vowels is one example of my own knowledge of studying the language. Some of the articles in particular talk about just Old English long vowels, and others will talk about a little bit about poetry, But there is not, so far, I have not found a lot of connections in a single source between the two languages, Japanese and English.
Thank you, Madam. Gentlemen?
So why did you pick up haiku is the only kind of specimen of poetry from Japanese, or are there other versions? Or are you working more intently on haiku?
Well, so the articles that I read did not name a particular form of Japanese poetry. I chose haiku because it happens to be one form of Japanese poetry which I'm more familiar with, as well as I thought it tied in, it also relates to my previous presentation at ComArts, which had to do with the Japanese haiku, part of it touched on Japanese.
See, so you're right. Dr. Mathai said, oh, she talked about haiku before, so it was interesting to see you extend it out.
Oh, thank you.
Would you back up your slides, go back to the poem about the frog?
Yeah. Oops. Here's the.
Go to the, okay, and then go to the English translation?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to say, I really like that you have water bubbles for the
Oh.
background. I just thought that was
Oh, very
incredible.
good. I hadn't picked up on
Okay, that was really clever. And for a moment I started going, why are there water bubbles? Oh, I know why there are water bubbles. That was really cute. Maggie, I would have liked for you to read each of the poems, the one in Japanese and then the first English translation and then the second one. I think that would have been a nice vocal development of the three.
Okay.
And visual too, yeah.
Yeah, for next time I would suggest that for you.
Okay,
Just
absolutely.
about.
Well,
Do you notice, have you run across a good translation that maintains at least the standard haiku syllable numbers in the lines?
This particular, I should mention the source that I used for all three of these translations of the haiku is from, excuse me, the Poetry Foundation. And there was one example which I didn't use for the purpose of showing structure, but in terms of meaning, there was a different author who I believe was closer to the original translation as far as I can understand.
Is this a topic you'd like to further investigate, going on, like into a master's degree in English or in?
The more I'm researching this, the more it's becoming a possibility in my life.
Okay, good.
And it's greater interest.
but you're able to read Japanese, right?
Yes.
You're able to read these haiku poems in Japanese, and can you understand them without somebody else's translation already provided?
Well, for example, this poem is written in a very old-fashioned form of
Mm.
Japanese.
Yeah.
That's one element where it's harder to tell, or it's harder for me to translate just by myself, and so I might have to ask a native speaker.
So would this be one where you have tighter vowels, as you talked about, the new language has longer vowels, and this one has tighter ones? Is that-
Yes, yes, exactly. This poem does not use long vowels.
Mm. Okay.
Is it possible for a long vowel to be two syllables, or is it basically each syllable could have one or two beats as you were talking about them?
In most cases, yes. Short vowels syllables tend to have one beat. However, there are some exceptions to that rule, which apply to one of my examples, which is the syllable home. It has one of the interesting things is how English speakers would perceive this word. I'll pull it up here. The cone, one syllable. We would perceive that as one beat or one syllable, but through my research I found that the moire, which give greater emphasis to the ending, and so to a native Japanese speaker, this might actually be two beats, so to speak.
Okay.
When you mentioned Beowulf, were you talking about the name as an example of the vowel stretch, or were you talking about the whole work in which we will study the old the Anglo-Saxon poetic meter.
Yes, I was referring more to the work as a whole.
The word, like
No.
Beowulf,
No, the poem as a whole.
the whole work?
Specific examples of
Okay.
the poem, which I unfortunately did not have time to present today.
Yeah.
But there are some specific lines which some of the authors cite.
And you have read Beowulf?
No, I have not read it.
I have.
In translation. I
In
suspect.
translation, of course, yeah. Well, Maddie, your Q&A went as long as your presentation, so thank you very much.